If you've ever found yourself on a toll road, you know my next guest's work. He invented this thing called Easy Pass. Yeah, you know what it is. You know, it's the fast lane. You know, I'm always the one stuck because we don't have toll roads in Michigan to speak of. But you go to Illinois, man, you got the Easy Pass people, and I'm sitting there throwing $1 and trying to dig change out. David Centner solved that problem. He created Easy Pass. He's a tech billionaire, serial entrepreneur with multiple successful businesses. He joins me now to discuss everything going on with the economy. David, nice to have you here.
Good morning, Steve. Let me clarify something. I did not invent Easy Pass. I created some innovations in the electronic toll collection arena. So specifically, if you ever rent a car and you pay for your tolls electronically, that was my innovation. So
well, okay.
Company, yeah. And we need to get you some tolls in Michigan. I think that's should be a high priority.
Well, you know, some people say yes, some people say no, and it depends. I mean, look, our roads are awful. We need to do something around here. But the reason you're here, first of all, let me ask you about the economy right now. You're a tech billionaire. You've been out there. You've been in the mix of Silicon Valley and these folks. You know, the people and the people that are investing in this country, people that are scared right now. We've seen the stock market go down dramatically. It's up, I think, going to be 700 or 800 points to start today. But what was your general take on everything that's happening?
Well, that's great news. I'm really glad you're the first person I'm hearing about this. The market's going to open up higher today, which is super cool because, you know, the past few days has been pretty rough. And everybody's kind of hoping that President Trump knows what he's doing, that he's surrounded by the brilliant advisors that he says he has. And I hold out hope. I think his action is extraordinarily bold and historic. And I really have a lot of faith that I have faith at the moment that this is what he's doing is ripping the Band-Aid off, and it's going to be a great reset for everybody. It just might be a little painful in the short term, and maybe only a couple of weeks. And the fact that the stock market's already up higher today, that's very, very reassuring to me.
Well, Scott Bassett says as many as 70 countries have already come calling saying, hey, let's make a deal. So that's a pretty good start. Howard Lutnick, Scott Bassett, these are pretty smart fellas, also billionaires, guys that have done very well, understand the markets, understand the economy far better than the average person. And so we do hope that they're on the right path. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, though, today is because of cancel culture. You and your wife, Leila, have launched a new podcast called Erased that'll highlight stories of people who have been experiencing cancel culture, which seems to be over in large part, by the way, because Meta, Facebook, yesterday got rid of their censors, if you will. Twitter got rid of their censors for the most part. I mean, there's still people out there that fool with it, but not the way they did 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, this really impacted you, didn't it?
Yeah, my wife and I have personally experienced cancellation attempts on 3 separate occasions. My wife, the first 2 associated with her school. We own a school in Miami called Centner Academy, and she took some very strong positions on COVID vaccines and mandates, the masking and all that kind of stuff, and got literally global attention. It went to the White House, and the media really tried to take her down. And then myself, more recently, probably associated with that, having to do with a very large donation that we were trying to make to the city of Miami. And that donation got embroiled in a political scandal unconnected to us, but the media, some media specifically, took this as an opportunity to put their foot on our neck with some very faulty reporting. And our reputation has been damaged. There's some real damages here. And we happen to own a company called Erase.com, coincidentally acquired before our own personal controversies, and it's in the reputation management space. We deploy a lot of tactics to improve and repair people's reputations. And then the idea for the podcast, Erased, with an exclamation mark, which launched yesterday with Alan Dershowitz as our first guest, is an opportunity for people to come on and share their own personal stories of cancellation, how they navigated their way through it, how they kept their head on straight, the friends and family lost along the way, the emotional journey and heartache and financial hardships, and it's extraordinarily vulnerable, quite entertaining. I think it's a really important show, and the idea is to shine light on these things because these people have not had an opportunity to share their stories elsewhere. So this is a first of its kind podcast.
First of all, a quick comment about Miami. What a remarkable city. People don't realize Miami is one of the safest, if not the safest, big city in America. So I tip my hat to Mayor Suarez there, who continues a good work there in Miami. But let me talk about cancel culture, because it wasn't just people that got canceled completely. It's people like myself who were basically throttled down, shadow banned, if you will. Couldn't pick up any followers, couldn't get anybody to look at my page because I was in the same place you were, questioning what was going on with COVID, questioning about masks and vaccines and all these things that your wife was doing as well. And just basically making it so nobody could see you. They didn't cancel you outright, they just made you invisible in many ways, people like me. That's just as bad. Did you ever think you would live in a place or a time in America where censorship was the rule of the day?
It's so un-American. It's bizarre, and what the tactics of the Biden administration were deploying to effectively censor and eliminate the right to free speech by controlling the social media companies, it's just outright wrong. And I would disagree with you. Cancel culture is not over. In fact, I read an article this morning in preparing to come on your show. There's some protesters, left-leaning protesters, and they were asking them what did they want to see in America, and they want to be able to speak freely. So the fact that cancel culture has affected people in the past is really bad for all of us because it can happen to anybody, left, right, doesn't matter. If people have a reluctance to actually speak their mind, then cancel culture is certainly in as strong force as it has ever been.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. It's the First Amendment of the United States Constitution is the envy of the world. I've believed that my entire life. Whether it's the freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom to gather, all the things within the First Amendment are the envy of the world. And for anybody to say, well, it's okay, if it offends somebody, we should get rid of it. Look, offensive speech is why we created the First Amendment. It wasn't for happy talk. It was for things that made people angry or upset or made them, emotional. That's what the First Amendment's there to protect. And that's what the beauty of America is, the robust exchange of ideas. Anything less than that is un-American, like you said.
So what's the root cause? Like, how did we get here? And I think this is super complicated. I think it goes back many decades. And a lot of it has to do with the changes in the media, where the media journalists are now not just required to say the who, what, where, when, and why. Now they're allowed to take a position. And then you had the advent of the internet, where it just changed the financial model completely. And then we see clickbait and just the relentless search for profits and just trying to get audiences. And so media outlets almost had to take a position and had to get titillating. And then the social media properties came. It's just really confusing, and it's a real mess. And I'd like to see a rewind where the newspapers and mainstream media is required just to report the news, to simply tell us how it is, and we get to decide our own position.
What a concept. Just tell people some facts. Let them decide. Don't put your hand or your foot on the scale. Wouldn't that be a concept, David? Quite remarkable. By the way, the podcast is Erased. It's a brand new podcast with David and his wife, Leila. People, I assume, can find it in all the usual places?
All the usual places. You name it, we've got it. Today's an exciting day. Today we're actually taping Papa John, pizza fame, who he himself ran into some issues with some racist comments years ago. And I understand there's two sides to this story. It may not be exactly as we've been has been shoved down our throats. And that's what's really cool. We're not the judge and the jury, my wife and I, as hosts, but it is an opportunity for people to share their side of the story and let people come to their own conclusion. There is more to every one of these stories.
Papa John has been a guest on this show a number of times from Columbus, Ohio. Good man that he is. David, look, really appreciate you being here. David Centner, you can look up the podcast Erased. You come back anytime, my friend. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Have a great day.
You too, my friend. There you have it. All right, so David Centner, Billionaire. Easy pass for your car. When I come back, Nick Hopwood. We're going to talk about the markets.